Good morning and welcome to another edition of 15 Minutes of Flame. I am Robert Phoenix. So how is everybody this morning? Start of the work week, coming into the moon in Aries phase. The beginning of the new season. This is the official start date for the rest of the 365 days out of the year. If you want to find out more about kind of where we are astrologically, I've got two places that you can go to. And they are my website, where I have my latest post from 2 days ago. Actually, it was yesterday I put it up. About the chart of Rockefeller and Baron Trump. And, I mean, you got to think that maybe that's why he named his kid Baron after Rothschild. Okay, so I'm going to, there's another place, and I'm going to transition back to Baron Trump here. There's another place that you can see or hear more about where we are astrologically today, and that is my live stream, which is up on YouTube on the 11th House channel that I have over there, where we do the live stream every Sunday night. And last night's turnout was pretty good. We had about 50 people. That's what I get. I get about 50 hardcore people that like what I do. It feels kind of like a big intimate party, and active on the chat last night, which was great. And so 9 o'clock Central Standard Time on Sunday nights, that's the live stream. 9 o'clock here during the day, Monday through Thursday, is 15 Minutes of Flame. And then on noon on Friday, maybe I should change the Friday show to 11. If I change the Friday show to 11, then I would have all my shows at 9 or 11. So we'd have the 9/11 magic dialed in to the show itself. So what's happening out there? I wanted to talk a little bit about Baron Trump. So I've gone down this rabbit hole lately of the modification of identity through transsexualism or transvestitism. And I've been doing it through these YouTube videos that, for the most part, I would say successfully show that there is something going on with men and women in Hollywood. Meaning that the stars that we have aren't really the gender that they're born with. So there's this switching going on, and according to a number of these videos, it's been going on for a while. Now, some of it I don't fully agree with. Like, I have a hard time with Bradley Cooper starting off as a woman and becoming a man. I have a hard time with that. Not because I'm a huge Bradley Cooper fan and I'm attached to him, he has a lot of facial hair. I mean, I think some of that stuff is really hard to hormonally change. Like, I think it's hard to pump a woman with that level of testosterone. That could be wrong. Somebody will probably send me a picture today on Facebook and say, here, look at her. In which case, I'd be wrong. But I don't know. I'm not buying the Bradley Cooper switch. However, there are other switches that I do buy into, and so the whole idea here is to get as close to Baphomet as possible. And if you look at versions, certain depictions of Baphomet is male and female. It is either intersexed or transsexual. There's got multi-functions going on. And when this happens, this is the resolution of duality. This is the resolution of these polar opposites where they come together in one one body. So when there's this magical operation of creating, but what happens, but when there's a magical operation of creating these beings, there's this again kind of overriding program, and it's a program, and when I say overriding, it's overriding a program as well, about what happens with gender and how humanity or humans play the role of God in reassigning gender and reassigning sex and the sexual architecture of the body. And in that case, humans, or a human, is a usurper and usurps the biological function and creation of quote-unquote God, which is a Luciferic act. Okay, do you see how it's put together? That's how it's put together. So there's this kind of wave of thought and wave of investigation going on that people aren't who they say they are in Hollywood. And there are some clear examples. I'll just name you a few names here. You can check it out. Sandra Bullock, Jennifer Aniston, Halle Berry, Jennifer Lawrence. Those are 4. Now, the one that really sticks out, and trust me, this is not a tabloid 15 Minutes of Flame, but one that really sticks out is Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, for years, Jamie Lee Curtis had this label that she'd been born a transsexual, a hermaphrodite. She'd been born a hermaphrodite. And this hermaphrodism, this is kind of an old term, hermaphrodism, but she had she had male plumbing, and it was clipped, it was cut off. And that was the sort of the prevailing sort of thought back in like the 80s. But if you kind of look at what I'm talking about through another lens, maybe she wasn't that at all, and maybe she was actually born a male and then transitioned over into female. And the reason I'm bringing this up, and I know this sounds crazy, but if you look at pictures of Barron Trump when he's young, he looks like a girl. He looks incredibly effeminate. Now, some boys do. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't boys that look very soft and very feminine. It happens. I was not one of them. I was that big chunky kid who was anything but soft and effeminate. But he does. He looks very effeminate. And then we see him now, and he looked fairly refined. Now, I'm not saying that he was a girl and became a boy. I'm not saying that. Although there are people that would. And they would make a case for it. Another one who apparently, according to these internet researchers, the big one is Mr. E. I think his name is Mr. E 2000 or 3000. He's actually funny. He uses the word tranny all the time. Most of these people, by the way, come out of the Christian conspiracy. The Christian conspiracy world is interesting. They're really onto this kind of transgender thing and the transvested or transsexual thing, trans world. And they're really into flat earth, two of the most extreme controversies, two of the most extreme conspiracies, and you can find them in the conservative Christian conspiracy world. But another person who shows up fairly bigly is Melania Trump. That Melania Trump is actually was a guy. And I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just putting it out there because this is one of the kind of darker currents of investigating going on. And I think that there's some truth to it. When you see some of the examples of, especially Sandra Bullock, man, you look at those shoulders, you look at those legs. So there's America's Sweetheart. So there's a grand deception going on. And the grand deception is that reality, who we quote unquote worship, where we put our attention, it's a 9/11. 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. When we put our attention towards that thing, what we're putting our attention towards is something that's false. It's false, just like these false flags. When we put our attention into the false flags, or into the false idols, or into the false identities, what we're reaffirming is a synthetic world. A world that in many ways does not exist but is created, and it's created by somebody else. It's created by a group, a mindset, a program. And then when we invest in that, what we're doing is we're giving our attention and our energy Yes, there's a watchdog here today. What we're doing is we're giving our investment, our intention, and our energy into a false creation. We are feeding the beast. This is how it works. This is why it's important to wake up. Yes, it's important to wake up because there are things that are being manipulated, whether they're the call for war or whatever it is, divide and conquer. But it is the gross manipulation of our psyche, of our awareness, of our consciousness, that is the greatest crime against humanity. Bar none. And when you drill down and you see what's happening, when you drill down and you see how these various appendages aren't real at all, and not only are they not real, but think about the emotional investment. Think about when you see somebody like Brad Pitt. Now, there's, again, if you crawl down that rabbit hole on YouTube, you'll see people that make a case that Brad Pitt is not a man at birth. And if that is the case, let's just entertain that for a moment. If that is the case, and you're one of millions and millions and millions of women who have invested psychic and emotional energy into Brad Pitt, what does that mean? It means that you have created and invested in something that's false and synthetic and misleading and takes you off the plot. Same can be said for men. The Sandra Bullock thing. What if you're a man and you go, oh, Sandra Bullock, America's Sweetheart, I'd love to marry her. Love to marry her. Love to have kids with her. And then you find out she's not even a woman. And I know it sounds crazy, but there's some truth to some of these things. And again, you have to sift through it and be discerning. And at the end of the day, how much time do you want to spend? Well, you can spend about 15 minutes with me, and I've kind of distilled it and cut to the chase, which is what we do here. I take things, and I distill them, and I break them down, and I give it to you in kind of bullet points and sentences so that you can kind of figure it out, mull around, and not have to go on to 30 YouTube videos and spend hours of your life. That's what I do. I have no life. So this is it. A lot has happened over the weekend. We had the march, the Pizzagate march on. Before I go there, this is why I brought this up. I wanted to read this to you. This is kind of where it's going. So this is from NBC News, and this is from March 23rd. Now, NBC News has a section called NBC Out. You ever look at the NBC peacock, the symbol? It's the rainbow. NBC Out. They have a whole section of the website dedicated to things that are out. Judge grants Oregon resident the right to be genderless. I'm going to read this to you. History was made quietly made in Oregon this month when a judge granted a Portlander's request to become genderless. Patch, a 27-year-old video game designer, is likely the first legally agender person in the United States. The Multnomah County Court granted Patch a general judgment of name and sex change on March 10th. In the same judgment, Patch was allowed to change names, becoming mononymous. That's a word, mononymous, meaning only having one name instead of a given name and a surname. This has been going on for a long time. Madonna, Pele, Obama. Mononymy has been practiced for a long time. Elvis, Bowie. You get one name, that's all you need. Now, when we said Elton John, we didn't say Elton, we said Elton John. Nobody ever called Elton. Right? Ali. Not Muhammad Ali. So it's not really that big of a deal. Not that big of a deal. But this guy's got the legal tender now. Agender is defined as the absence of gender, not to be confused with transgender or genderqueer or agender. People, get ready. You're going to have to relearn everything. It's going to be there's going to be a guide. You'll be supplied with a guide. If you're in the workforce, get ready for memos, get ready for HR. There's going to be a whole retrofitting of these gender assignments. And you're going to have to learn them because you're being socially engineered. We're being socially engineered, although I don't work in a corporate setting. It's going to happen. They're going to sit down, and you may have a group meeting with HR, and HR is going to go over these things, and you're going to say, well, here's what we say, here's what we don't say, here's how we approach each other. I'm telling you right now. Do you know why? Because what are companies afraid of? They're afraid of lawsuits. And all they have to do is have one person come through that front door, work in that office with a, transmorphed assignation. And somebody gets it wrong and boom, lawsuit. Now, these things are actually set up. There are legal setups. There are legal honey traps. Because what happens then is that through the lawsuit, precedent is set and law is determined. So all we need is one kind of headline-grabbing lawsuit. And how many companies want to be engaged in further lawsuits? They don't. And even companies, there will be holdout companies. I mean, there are companies that will not want to be bullied. There'll be companies that have some form of Christian leadership, and they're going to say no. So what's going to happen to these companies? Are they going to be penalized? I mean, so we're entering into new territory here, because I guarantee you that the psycho-emotional retrofit is on. Let me continue to read this. While sex refers to biological features such as chromosomes, genitalia, and hormones, gender is the expression of identity as male, female, or somewhere in between. But agender people are not drawn to male or female identity or any point along the spectrum. So this is what Patch says. As a kid, probably starting around age 6, gender didn't make sense to me. I was told men were this, women were this. As a teen, I learned about transgender people, and that didn't seem like what I was. And then I learned about genderqueer, and that didn't seem like what I was. A handful of organizations Survey transgender, gender nonconforming, and intersex people told NBC that no U.S. court has ever granted a legally genderless status before. This is actually pretty big. This is a big kind of moment in time here for the assignation of identity. This is the first time that that Sylvia Rivera Law Project has heard about this, and we applaud the court recognizing the person as they are. Attorney Kyle Rapinin said, "We hope that other government agencies will help people self-determine their gender identity, which also includes the option to identify without a gender. The judge who signed off on Patch's agender petition is ahead of the curve." She also presided over the nation's non-binary gender change last year. In a June 2016 decision, Multnomah County Circuit Court Judge Amy Holmes Henn granted Portland resident Jamie Shoup a legal change from female to non-binary, casually setting off a nationwide third gender movement that sent dozens of residents in other states into courthouses seeking genders other than male or female. In her first media statement about the proceeding setting cases, Judge Holmes Henn told NBC News that the law supports Shoup and Patch. "I made these decisions like all decisions because they were supported by facts and law, and out of respect for the dignity of people who came before me." Patch's self-applied definition of agender is firm, without gender. However, agender and gender-neutral identities can mean different things to different people. The website neutroy.com, a resource guide published by and for the agender and gender-neutral community, states that agender doesn't always necessarily mean a complete lack of gender. Some neutroy, here's another word, neutroy, Neutrois, some neutrois, or neutroi, do feel completely genderless. Reads an explanation on neutroy.com. That is, they have no gender, an absence of gender, or are null gendered. Others have an internal gender that is neither male nor female, just neutral. Agender is a term used interchangeably for both. As the concept of gender or lack thereof continues to expand, some LGBT groups have worked together to fold agender, non-binary, and similar identities into their advocacy issues. July 2016, shortly after news broke of Jamie Shoup's historic case, the National Center for Transgender Equality added an explainer on non-binary people, including respectful terms and pronouns. So it said, I am telling you right now, within 6 to 8 months, you're going to be sitting in an HR meeting wherever you work, and this is going to be broken down to you. And it is going to be so freaking confusing. So confusing. You're going to sit there and you're going to ponder, what do I say? Who do I say it to? And I'm going to go into profanity here. It is a mind fuck. This is a mind fuck. Welcome to another level of the mind fuck. Other groups like the Intersection Genderqueer Recognition Project, IGRP in California, were formed to fight for more options for people who do not fit traditional definitions of male or female. Out of the dozen or so people who have legally changed their gender to non-binary over the past year, about 2/3 are clients of IGRP. In Patch's case, having no gender has its unique challenges that differ from the non-binary movement. Patch doesn't use pronouns, not they, she, or him. And so writing about the first known legally genderless American takes some creative sentence structuring. You're going to have your cerebral cortex rearranged. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Another challenge a legally genderless person presents is what to do with identity documents like a driver's license or passport. Jamie Shoup's case last May, the first in which a U.S. person was granted a legal gender that's neither male or female, started a domino effect at Oregon's Department of Motor Vehicles, among other agencies, which have been working toward a third gender designation on identity documents. Oh boy, here we go. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Here's what Patch says. It bothers Patch that information as intimate as one's gender identity is part of every form people have to fill out. But Patch also understands that conceptual shifts take time. I think it's creepy that society wants to track such personal information about everybody. Why does it matter? But we do exist in that system, and since we do, we just can't scrap it all. Really, Patch. Really. Boy, game is on. It is on. So, on the one hand, let me play the devil's advocate here a little bit. On the one hand, through this kind of dysmorphic state, where there is no gender, there is no male, there is no female, there is nothing. There is this kind of overarching movement towards non-dualism. It's towards non-dualism. I kind of get it. I really kind of get it. I also kind of get the sense that people want to be free. They don't want to be determined by labels. I don't want to be determined that I'm a man or I'm a woman or whatever it is. I want to be free. I don't want to be determined by my last name. I want to be determined by a mono name. And maybe I can change my mono name. I mean, what if Patch doesn't want to be Patch anymore? What if Patch wants to be Plug instead of Patch? I'm tired of Patch. I'm going to be Plug. I'm tired of Plug. I'm going to be Fuse or whatever. I mean, so we're in this incredibly kind of fluid state, which on some level I totally get. I totally get that people are trying to seek freedom from a system that is oppressive. In a large part, it is oppressive. I mean, when we talk about some of the things that I talk about on my show, and we talk about how having to conform to whatever it is we need to conform to or buy into a program, we believe that that's oppression, or at least I do. It's a form of oppression. And we're doing our best to be free. Let's say, for instance, there's a huge amount of energy around vaccination, adult vaccination, where they come up with another 20 vaccines for kids. And we just keep taking these vaccines throughout our life. What happens? We don't like it. It's oppressive. We have this body, this third body telling us what to do. And we don't dig it. So I get it. I get it. But what's happening now is that this is becoming another form of, one person's liberation or one group's liberation is another group's form of oppression. And I'm just, and I'm doing my best to see both sides of this. I get the non-identification. I get the wanting to be free. I get the non-dualism. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I totally get it. And you know what? I support their right to express who they are. I get it. But I'll tell you what I don't support is I don't support re-racking how we're going to address one another. I'm sorry. I'm not, it's like, hey, dude, lift up your skirt. Show me what you got. Okay, I'm going to call you a guy. I'm sorry. I'm going to biologically identify. You're a man. You're a man. Biologically, you're a man. Existentially, you may be whatever you want. You could be a unicorn from Arcturus, as far as I'm concerned. You see, I'm trying to be fair here, and some people say, "Who gives a shit about your being fair? You don't matter." I don't care. We're here. We're sorting through these things, and I'm just telling you right now: be prepared. Be prepared for your kids, because they're going to have to go. They're going to have to go through this. They're going to have to. Now, my kid, maybe not. Maybe not. He's going to be in the 8th grade next year. High school, he might get the tail end of this. He might whiff the tail end of these fumes. But if you have a child that's in, say, the 1st grade or the 2nd grade, get ready, because they're going to have to be. Their world is going to change. Again, all it takes are 1 or 2 cases. 1 or 2 cases. So let's say we have activist parents, because a lot of this is social activism. Let's be clear about it. These are people that I remember many years ago, her name was Shannon. What was her last name? I can't even remember her first name. Hold on. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go back. We're going to go over just a little bit today. Let's see. Girl. I remember her first name was Shannon. This was kind of a landmark thing. I'm going to find out what it was. Hold on. There was the Citadel is kind of a military Christian school, and there was this girl, young woman, who fought to play football at the Citadel, and she won the right. Her name was Shannon something, and she didn't even want to play football. She did not want to play football. But it was this ideological test case that her parents or her handlers or whomever it was, let me see, made sure that she got into the Citadel, which was military and football, and she played. What was her name? God, her name was Shannon something. But I'm bringing this up because this is what happens. They have test cases. And all you need is one activist parent who has a child who's gone through the legal process. And trust me, there are parents around that are really excited about having their kid be genderless, neuter, neutral, whatever they are. And they're going to have their child go through that process. And all it takes is the child saying, "Mommy, some days I wake up and I want to go out and I want to play with the boys. Some days I want to go out and play tag." Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that, honey? She wants to go play tag with the boys. She's not really a girl. She's got to be. She's got to be non-binary. Of course. All right, what do we do now? And they get on their computer, and they're going to look at the support groups. They're going to find somebody in their neighborhood. They're going to call them up, and they're going to say, "Oh, my God, so nice to meet you. Why don't you come on down? Let's have a meeting. Let's meet at Starbucks. Let's keep it informal. Let's just talk." And the next thing you know, they say, "Well, here's the resources we have. These are the legal resources, and we'd be willing to work with you every step of the way." Every step of the way. And the next thing you know, little Johnny, little Janie, little, I don't know, Sprocket. Let's say they want to be called Sprocket. Little Sprocket decides that, okay, they're going to be moved through the system. And now, boom, they are non-binary, non-gender, agender, gender neutral, gender whatever. And then they've got a new name, Sprocket. And Sprocket now has to be addressed in certain ways at school. And guess what? Everybody's going to have to address Sprocket in a certain way. And if that's going to happen, then everybody's going to have to change. And then you're going to have school systems. And trust me, this is going to happen. They're going to have people at PTA meetings, school board meetings, and the law is going to come down. The law, and most people are just sheep, and they're just going to be herded into this kind of new system because they don't want to make any waves. They don't want to seem like they're hateful. They want to be able to do business or have margaritas or whatever, and it's going to create a shitstorm of confusion. This is what's going to go down. I don't think that there's not an agenda behind it, and there is. There is. Some of it might be organic, some of it might be synthetic, that people are being manipulated by the chemicals, by whatever's floating around in the chemtrails, the little nano creatures, glyphosate, whatever. But there is an agenda behind it. And the agenda behind it is to completely disassemble everything that we know. Everything. Everything. And this is the new age, the dark new age, the dark Aquarian age, where there is no gender, there are no names, there are no families, there are no parents. Parents, that word will go away. That word will go away. If the parent won't be a parent anymore, because that would mean that if you're a parent, then you would have a child, and the term child might go away. Children aren't children anymore. What are they? Non-binary, non-assigning, pre-adult? And what happens when we change the language around child and parent? What's available at that point? You see, you change the definition of a child, or the name of a child, then everything associated with the child changes as well. The innocence of a child evaporates because it's not associated or anchored with a name. So when you have things like child porn, child molestation, child abuse, you take away the word child, and those things no longer exist. Do you see where this is going? How can these things apply if the entire state of being a child is no longer applicable? That these children are no longer children. Because that would mean that those names or that assignation, that definition, no longer exists. And so everything associated doesn't exist either. Do you see where this is headed? And how are we supposed to live in a world like this? I'm going to tell you that it's going to get so insane that people are going to lose their moorings. And you're going to see this real schism with large groups of people. And you're going to see people flip out, which is exactly what they want to do. They want to see people flip out. They want to see them lose their shit because there's an agenda behind this. And the agenda is a complete disruption of the past 2,000 years, the past 2,017 years on this planet. Because they want to usher people into their version of the new age. If they want to control the minds and the psyches of people, and you could make a case that a person doesn't want to be controlled. Like when I hear Patch's argument, well, they're taking all this personal information. You know, screw them. Why do they need to know whether I'm a man or a woman? I get it. But I'm telling you, this is where people are being funneled. And even though the people who are doing their best to opt out, this guy Patch, I think he's opting out. He's basically saying, this is a system and I'm opting out. This is my way to opt out. I'm going to have a single name and I'm not going to be identified. This is my shot at being free. I kind of get it. But not everybody's going to come from that place if that's the place Patch, he is coming from. It's a lot of food for thoughts. I know. It's Monday. It's April. Well, it's not quite April. It's March 27th. It's Aries. And it's a new moon in Aries. Uranus in Aries, a radical redefinition of what it means to be a human, a person, a man. Are you ready for it? I guarantee you, hundreds of millions of people aren't. And yet, this is what is being created, constructed, defined, redefined. But you always have a choice. You always have the right to consent or not consent. This has been your 15 Minutes of Flame. I'm Robert Phoenix, your male host of this program, 4 days a week. Have a great day.